How are we, man?
Good, bro. Yeah, feeling better. Yeah, doing good.
How was your last? Did you PR or you pre-PR on squats? What was that?
Yeah, today was bench.
Yeah.
And I went for 125. So I mean I hit a PB. I've
Yeah.
never benched 125.
You got
It
it?
was I was aiming for a triple, but
Oh,
I only got a double. So
still,
yeah.
125 for a double. It's not bad, though. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So just got a few things to work on before next week, which I'll be prepping with. But yeah, next week's peak week testing. We'll see what we can hit. Yeah.
Nah, just carb up. Just 800 grams of carbs all week. Be fully
Oh,
loaded. Not that you need carbs for strength anyway, but just do it just because shits and gigs. And
hey, yeah. Carb load up. Yeah, we're going for it.
I remember, I think I hit 120 back when I was like early 20s, and then I went 125, and then the guy who spotted me, like I went down, went up, and I like, you just get a little bit stuck, and then you lock in. He did that, but
Hmm.
he like guided the bar up, and he's like, "Oh, you, bro, oh, you." I'm like, "Nah, bro,
Yeah.
you just upright rode it." And he's like, "You got it, bro." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever, bro. Like, I'm done. I'm over you
Yeah.
now. Like, you piss me off."
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, they try, you know.
Right,
So
100%. Are you getting back into normal bodybuilding after this? Are you cooked or what? After your
oh
oh,
yeah. I'm so keen to go back to hypertrophy, honestly. I've enjoyed the powerlifting block, moving big numbers, but the amount of muscle and joint pain that I've had, it's not pleasant. So
yeah.
yeah.
I got clients who like loved SBD, had it in the program, want to get stronger, that sort of thing. And I'm literally pulling them up now. They're like, this is kind of killing me. I'm like, it's gonna like we're poor
Yeah.
they physique goals as well. And I'm like, let's just strip it back and keep one of them in if you love it, like squats or something, but
Yeah.
just strip it all back and let's just get you moving right. And you're either doing strength or you're not, and you can't do it forever. So
100%. Yeah. No, it sucks. It's painful.
I'll just stick to my hypertrophy for now. That's quite fun. I think I may have conventional deads coming in the next block. I'm not too sure, which I haven't
Oh,
done in ages. I
yeah.
I failed my RDL. I got 7 reps of 180 instead of my 8. And then I got the shits and I threw my headphones. I was like, fuck this and walked off. But then I had to come
That
back and
is.
I had to conventional the 180 up just to get it re-rack it and then wrap up. And I raw dogged it. I got it up, but I was like, oh, that's a lot harder from the floor than from starting from the top. So
Yeah. That's the thing. Hey, I can rep out 190 like it's nothing from an RDL's perspective, but deadlifting from the floor up, it's a whole different concept in terms of like, yeah, just like where you're loading up the body. So,
if you're 6 foot plus, it doesn't make it any easier either. Like so,
no.
6 foot plus and
Yeah.
short legs. So um,
Unless you've got extremely long arms.
yeah,
Yeah.
which I don't. So yeah, I'm short-legged in that sense. So chat and say, want to go through we in our workshop in the one round workshop with the coaches we went through fat loss. We have our photo shoot coming up in I think 7 weeks time. It's in April, first 2 weeks of
Yeah.
April. So Bathurst workshop will be the 5th of April, which will be at Welsh Bathurst, and then the Penrith workshop will be on the 12th, which will be two confirmed, but it should be at the same venue that it was at last year, which should be cool. So for anyone who doesn't know, the photo shoot is pretty much just we get everyone in. It's kind of a really cool goal to work towards. We get you guys in, clients in to run through a bit of a circuit. We'll run through exercises, make sure that you guys are in the best possible lighting, the best possible position, show off all your hard work, all your muscle, we know all the tricks of the trade, and then we get some really cool shots of you training, and then just show like, hey,
Yeah.
this is actually what you look like. Like this is how much like look at how much we've improved and that sort of thing. So it's super cool. This will be your first one, my man. You excited?
Yeah, yeah, I'm heaps excited. I mean, I went through my own one with Angus recently, a few
Yeah.
months ago. So
Shout out to Angus.
that's
Those shots are sick, man. I want to tee one up for myself as well, like just for us.
yeah, yeah, 100%. So I think just having that experience, although it was like about an hour's worth of exercising, so it was I did a full body workout, and it wasn't it was a lot harder than I expected, but at the same time, I think my ego was like, if I'm having photos of me moving weight, I want actual weight on there. So I had to actually move some weight,
Yeah,
but is what it is. But the
yeah,
photos turned out sick, and I'm heaps excited for some of my clients to get that same, see the hard work that they've been putting in on in an actual photo. So
100%. It's funny if you've never had like photos taken. We obviously for us it's pretty normal. It's just our jobs. Like it's marketing that sort of thing, filming ourselves and stuff like that. But you kind of not forget, but you do realize where sometimes if this is the first instance where clients ever had like a photo taken of them and putting good lighting or showing how to position themselves so they look good and that sort of thing. And it's like, oh my God, I didn't know I looked like that. Like yeah, 100%. So it's cool when that happens when you can show someone like this is what you actually look like. Because even now with my
100%.
few of my lifestyle clients who aren't looking to compete at all, I try and get them to at least start playing around with some poses just so that they can see some of the muscle that they hit, even if it's just a little baby front double or
Yeah,
little
yeah.
things like that, so they can be like, oh, like I have a back rather than just standing straight up and down. It's like, yeah, man, like we got some muscle there. You just got to show it. So
It's
sometimes,
actually funny when you do that
yeah,
with some, you almost like yeah, people that are just doing it for lifestyle, and then they throw up a front double bind, and they're like, oh, I've got a bicep there, like, and then they go show their family members, and they're like giving them a flex. And some of a couple of my clients have done that, female clients, and they're just like, um, people look at them like, oh, you're a mum, you're working, and then they just come into the family function and they're like flexing, and then everyone is just surprised at what they've
holy
grown.
shit.
So yeah,
Yeah, even like my client Zach, who's actually in prep, or he was starting for next week for season C, but he was just doing the standard, side, front, arms down, back and side, progress photos. And I'm like, man, I don't actually know what you look like. So I got him imposing. I was like, oh my God, you actually have like a pretty good X frame. I was like,
mm,
where the hell did that come from? So now he's hitting poses like, yeah, like the lats are there, the quads are there. So it definitely helps when even on the minor sense of that, just being, shown, hey, like this is, you actually have some muscle. Girls,
yeah,
you actually have a little bit of glute. Like we have built that there. You just got to know how to show it and know how to, sit yourself. And that's what the photo shoot's for, as well as obviously getting people to meet other people in the wandering community, which is exactly
100%, yeah,
which is cool. Obviously that's coming up. So we got a lot of I know a lot of my clients are in a bit of a fat loss phase, trying to trim up for it. I know yours are as well. The rest of the team, Loch Shay, they've all got clients who are looking to trim down. Wanted to go through say where people struggle with fat loss phase, not just like, oh, you run out of your calorie deficit, but actual genuine, like this is genuinely where you fuck up. Like this is where you're going to fall off. Um, and this is where we can come in, or this is where you need to like not what you need to not do in order to keep it going. So anything off the top of your head, man, where the first thing like what people get wrong in the fat loss phase or what throws people off?
definitely just going too aggressive too quickly.
Yeah.
I think I've been in a position where I haven't had that, but when I'm in the depths of my cut when I was in prep, I know how hard it is being that low. So I think the best thing to do is not go down that far that quick, even though you're probably going to make some massive changes that really quickly, but it's not sustainable. And if you're not used to it, if you're not prepared for it, you're just going to end up binge eating and just eating like an asshole after that. So
I completely agree. The other, like, and yeah, people were just going too hard, too quick, or that sort of thing. That comes off two things. Like, I had a consult this week, and large male, working construction, training 5 days a week, and I think he was trying to eat low 2000s. Like, bro, like that is no, and he just had no concept of what his maintenance is. Like, and it's like if you don't know that,
mm,
you're never going to know, which is fine. So, yeah, definitely not going too hard, too quick. The other thing is sometimes the first couple of weeks, because you're all excited and you're keen, you're like, I know I was like that in prep where it's like, hey, we can push more. I can push more. Do you want to go hard? Like, I can push harder. And then it's just like, no, no, no. We're just going to stay here. We're going to play the long game, and we're not going to get too excited, all right? Because in 3 weeks' time, you're going to end up cooked, and you'll be killing yourself. So, did you
I
have that
was
thought?
I'd, God no, I was like, nah, there's no chance I'm giving up any of my food if possible. I enjoy food way too much.
I think I got to the point where I was started to metabolize fat a little bit better, and I felt like mentally switched on. I wasn't digesting heaps of food. I was like, actually got to a point where I was like, I'm on fire. Like, let's push the butt. Like, let's go. And I was just super keen. And then, luckily the coach at the time was just like, no, like we're gonna stay here and just everything's going smoothly. And I've done that with other clients as well, where they're like, hey, do you want me to do extra cardio or extra this? Like, no, 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 just the the least amount you can do is the best. So the goal with fat loss is to
Yeah.
do the least amount to get the most outcome. I know another thing for myself that I always have to talk people out of is that the skinny fat stage. Do you ever have to
Mm.
go through that where people they're kind of 3 weeks in, they're not really they've lost some weight, but they look almost worse, where the glycogen's gone, they're flat, and they're kind of teetering on that edge of being shredded. Have you ever gone through that?
I think I've got a few that are kind of getting close now. So yeah, no, I haven't had any like particularly yet. I think a lot of them actually just go pretty quick through that phase, so it's not there for too long.
Sometimes, sometimes it is hard when you're like when you've been, I guess, full or pumped up, or and then you go to
Your
diet.
carbs are so depleted.
Well, yeah, you diet, you drop the carbs out, you don't look full, you still got body fat on there because it's the start of the cut. And you're just like, oh no, I've lost all my size, I've lost all, you know what I mean? And you're not in that like it's a shredded stage where you're seeing definition. So definitely need to mentally lock in and just be like, right, we're doing this for 8 weeks. This is, we're going to work through this phase. It will come off eventually. Just, you're not small. And eventually, when you lose your body fat, you actually look bigger from a male perspective as well. And then obviously, females, they look
Yeah,
more defined. So you just need to work through that phase of being like feeling a little bit flat.
it's just part of the process, really. So
So we spoke in the workshop mainly about like making sure that you give back to the system with, because you can't, it's very hard for people to diet for 8 weeks straight, eating in a complete deficit. What sort of, I guess, strategies have you got in place with your clients and to ensure that they can, get some calories back in when they need it?
yeah, so I mean, I've just started implementing like high day or low days, high days with the low days. So rather than just staying in that complete deficit for so long, yeah, giving them that their body that little bit of like a refeed helps with that feeling of, I guess, just like being like you're completely depleted, and then also gives them that metabolism a bit more of a boost. So then they're coming back down again after that high day. So
So when we say high day, we mean it can be high calories, but mainly high carbs, just to
high
let the
carb, yeah, sorry, high
let the
carbs, yeah.
body chill out, just to confirm for the viewers out there. But yeah, high carbs, let the body chill out. I know for a fact that my clients who are pretty switched on won't necessarily are a little bit hesitant towards the high day because they're like, oh,
Hmm.
my scale weight's going to jump up. No, I'll put on body fat and stuff like that. When in reality, it's the other way around. It's kind of like I think I used the analogy in the workshop where you can drive your car 120 k's an hour, but you're going to burn the tires out. Whereas if you drove at 80 k's an hour and stopped for petrol every 2 3 hours, then you're gonna get to the destination. Might take a little bit longer, but at least you're gonna get there and in full health, right? So
Yeah,
I guess the scale weight increase that you might see the next day is literally just water. Like it can't be body fat unless you've eaten like an asshole and gone off plan. It physically can't be body fat, so it's not the end of the world. Where do you find people struggle mentally with a cut? Where do you think some of the areas that people will mentally struggle with a cut, whether it be, you know, not eating certain foods or whether it be, I guess, mentally working through a certain situation or, occurring something like that? Are there any mental barriers that come with being in deficit?
I think just like when they get to the lower points of, as we're gradually dropping down your calories, it's like, okay, getting towards the back end of it, it definitely starts to get a bit tougher. But like I've told a lot of my clients, I'm like, look, that's just a part of it. And if you can just learn to enjoy and embrace that feeling of like, okay, like this is just getting me closer to my goal, and trusting that process, then normally they just like accept it almost like, okay, this is just a part of it, rather than going like, I think when I was at the lowest point, I got irritable and frustrated at a lot of things, just because I was like, oh, like this is just hard. But yeah, it's meant to be hard. Like it's not easy.
It's I use the analogy where if you're not hungry, you're probably not in a deficit. So it's like people be like, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm hungry." I'm like, "That's a really good thing. That means that means we're going to force the body to use the fat on your
Yeah.
body instead of giving it the fuel it wants."
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think the big thing with that is just comes in education. So like practicing from the start of like, hey, this is where we're going. This is how you're going to feel.
Hmm.
it's all completely normal. Um,
Yeah.
this is, and then I know for a fact for myself when I know like, okay, cool, if this arises, then it's okay. Then I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like it's, Jesse said it's okay, so I'm okay now, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I think I have kind of questioned them a lot when we started the deficit. I go, hey, like, how are you feeling? And they're like, I feel great. I'm like, okay, because you're going to eventually start feeling depleted and tired. So just making sure where you're at. And so then they go, okay, yeah, cool. And then eventually, as we keep going down that line, keep asking, like, hey, how you feeling? Like, yeah, I'm actually starting to get hungry now. And they are more aware of, like, okay, this was coming.
Yeah.
I'm not so blindsided by it. So I think that that's probably where I've had to save that conversation a lot and also their mental load of, okay, this is actually, oh, I'm hungry, I'm tired, my lifts, I'm not PBing every week, I'm not progressive overloading. Why? It's like, oh, like there's a reason for that.
I've had it on the opposite side of things. So I find sometimes that it takes a body like 2 weeks to kind of like adjust to the food. And I know for myself, it takes me almost 2.5 weeks to actually adjust to lower calories and start to utilize fats as an energy source. And I know with some of my clients, they've had the same thing where like, man, I am feeling like rubbish. I'm like, look, you're gonna first 2 weeks gonna be shit. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be a bit rough. But after you get past that point, you'll be fine. And they'll be like, all right, I trust you. Sure enough,
Yeah,
when you get past that point, they're like, hey, I'm completely fine now. I'm like, yeah, you've changed your metabolism's
yeah,
kind of you started metabolizing fats. It's not searching for carbs, so you're sweet now. But sometimes that first period as well can be quite like, ooh, this is rough. I find as well sometimes the expectations of how much someone's going to lose can be vary from what the coach is expecting, what the client is expecting. Have you found the same thing?
I tell them if you do everything right, you will see the progress, but we need to also be aware of things. And I inform them like, okay, you got your sneaky calories, like your sauces, oils, and people cooking with butter or something like that. So if you track everything that's going into your food when you prepare it and then when you're eating it, you're going to make a lot more progress if you're aware of what you're eating.
Yeah.
However, if they're not on par with that, then obviously there's not going to be the progress that they want to see. But yeah, I just tell them straight up, I'm like, hey, like if you do this the way, tick your boxes in everything with your food tracking and your training and making sure you're keeping your movement up, you will see progress.
Yeah.
However quick that is dependent on, I guess, like how far in deficit you are. So,
Sometimes I have people who come to me and they're like, "Hey, I want to lose 5 kilos in 8 weeks," and then
oh
having to do the math with them. So for education for everyone out there, it takes 1,100 calories a day to be in a deficit. So that's under your maintenance to lose 1 kilo of body fat. So you get a small female saying they want to lose 5 kilos over 8 weeks, and then you say to them, "Hey." Like let's just say the maintenance is 2,000 calories, and you have to explain to them, hey, in order to do that, we can do that, but you're going to have to eat 1150 calories a day every single day. Um, can you do that? And then they kind of go, nah, that's pretty brutal. I'm like, yeah, so it's probably not going to be feasible. What we're probably better off doing is aiming for half a kilo a week, which then brings us up at 1,600 calories, and then that or 1,500 calories, and that might be a little bit better for us. And then like,
mm,
oh yeah, okay, cool. So
yeah.
setting the expectation from the start of like, hey, that's what you thought is actually probably not logical. What do you think are some of the red flags when dieting? So some of the things that if a client's experiencing X, Y, Z, where the cut's gone too far or something's gone wrong, or we're pulling into the red zone there.
I think if they start getting, like if they're plateauing or if
Yeah,
they're starting to get sick or some things just starting to pop up with their health, it's like, okay, like what's going wrong? Kind of look at like, you know, what might be wrong. Maybe they're actually under eating
yeah.
and they're saying, so that's why I check their what they're tracking in a day and then going, okay, like how's your tracking been? And say you said, oh yeah, it's going great. And we've kind of had a chat or two already about like how your tracking actually is going and looking at what you're eating. Okay, cool. Well, you're under eating on your carbs each day because you think it's going to help go quicker, but really like if you do that, you're probably going to crash and burn a lot quicker. So
Yeah.
checking their diary and going through their days, just having a quick glance over, going, oh, how's your macros? How's your calories each day? Cool. Okay, sweet. We're on track.
Other
trying to
side
get ahead.
of that is potentially their, if under eating, but then their activity levels could have changed as well, right? So they've gone from being a desk job and now they're out walking around, or they've gone from potentially, they've changed jobs on a job site, or they're a tradesman where one job was super cruisy, they didn't have to do much, and this job they're running around like crazy, then they're
Hmm.
cooking too much. So having to adjust accounting for the extra activity, especially if people are reaching burnout, maybe a thing. Um, I know big thing that I push is training quality. So like you still just because you feel like shit doesn't mean you are shit. So training quality should be at the utmost of importance. You may not be hitting like PBs every week, but you'd surprise yourself.
If your
Um,
intensity's there, that kind of like, if
yeah,
you're pushing your sets hard, okay, cool. Like you may not PB, but when you or I were in prep, our numbers would have dropped drastically towards the end.
that's towards the end, but yeah, definitely at the start of the prep, the goal is to at least maintain the strength levels, and that's what you're aiming for every week. Is like right, maintain, maintain, maintain. Sometimes
Yeah.
you go into the gym, you're like, oh, I feel terrible, I'm tired, I'm cooked, and then you'd be surprised you actually have a really solid session, hit the numbers.
Yeah. Or PB. Like
Yeah,
I
or
remember
yeah, or
PBing
literally PB.
still. Yeah. And I remember PBing and I was like training with a group of guys and being like, oh, it was this big competition between us all. Cause I'm like, I'm prepping right now. I'm in a deficit. I'm depleted and I'm PBing. Like, how hard are you going to push now? And it was this constant like back and forth, which was really cool. So yeah.
It
But
was the pro natural bodybuilder Nathan Wallace. He competed last season, and he was like 3 weeks out, and he was literally fair enough. It was a top set, but he pulled 300 off the floor. Like 3 weeks out, it's like that. It's obviously stupid strength. Someone who's been training forever,
yeah.
um, but yeah, it just shows that you can still hit. You still want to maintain a really good training quality, so that your body is forced to hold on to some of that lean tissue
Yeah.
that you've accrued, right? The other red flags I would say is like if your sleep starts to get affected, potentially then you're maybe intaking too much caffeine, might be affecting your sleep. And none of our unless you're in a prep, then none of our clients should be getting your sleep shouldn't be affected too much.
Too much. Yeah.
Sometimes in a prep you do have to just cop it and just you may only get
Yeah.
5 to 6 hours sleep, but that's at the tail end. But yeah, if your sleep starts getting affected, then there's something going on there. Um, and then the other thing as well is obviously looking from a female's perspective is just like the menstrual cycle. If you've missed your period or it hasn't come and it's kind of like teetering there, and it's like, well, we're probably pushing limits a little bit there. And depending on how
Hmm.
lean you need to get, well, I would say no one for a photo shoot would need to get that lean. Like,
No.
shouldn't need to get that lean to where you should lose your menstrual cycle. So, still making sure that that's all happy, healthy, and tracking that is probably a good thing. And those are some of the red flags I would see. Let's just say someone's dieted down, they've done the photo shoot. Where do they go from there? What do they do? What's the plans?
Uh, Go eat a big pizza and
I
binge
didn't,
eat
yeah,
a Ben and Jerry's
and then
tub
take
of
two
ice
weeks off
cream.
after. That's why we did it before Easter, so you can take the whole public holidays off and
Yeah.
send yourself.
Nah, just reversing it out. So just slowly increasing your calories back up week in, week out, and letting your body just readjust. Otherwise, you will blow out and you will just add on a bunch of fat.
I totally agree. It's obviously especially when you've been dieting for a while, your hunger hormones can be sent through the roof. And you can be feeling hungry forever. Or hunger doesn't always determine how much food you need. So your body's a bit dumb like that, where it'll just send hunger hormones and you'll have eaten a full meal and you're like, I'm still hungry. It's like, yeah, but you don't need food.
Mm,
So just making sure you and your coach have worked out a plan. You're relatively strict with the plan, and you guys have a strategy for off-plan meals or things of that nature. So you still go out and have some fun, but it's like, hey, look, you have a meal after the photo shoot, then we'll jump back on plan. You know,
yep.
have one off-plan meal and make it sensible, and then you kind of titrate calories back up so that we get to a normal body fat level. Do you want to just touch on very quickly as well, which I think is interesting because we're both very different. So I'm 100 kilos right now. What are you?
94 and a half after Monday's episode.
Yeah, and we're relatively the same. We're relatively the same height.
Yeah, I think I'm 6 foot.
Yeah, I'm 6'2", like, so not much
Yeah.
difference. What was your stage weight?
84,
Cool.
83. Yeah.
And mine was the same. But for me to feel strong, I have to be at 100 kilos. You can stick around at 94, 95 with shredded abs and look like a Greek god. Um, that's a pretty good thing for people to just understand, is that I think some people need, in order to, when you're trying to build or, put a muscle on or just function like normal, some people will need to be a little bit higher in body fat than others, right? Just keep in mind, if you are dieting, that, yeah, you can look a certain way, that's good, but that might not be your everyday look. You
Hmm.
may not be able to retain that, especially if you're trying to, like, go heavy, train hard, go heavy in the gym, make progress. May have to put on it just a little bit more body fat or just eat a little bit more food until you feel strong again.
Yeah, it's just part of the process. Like if you want to get stronger again and start moving some numbers or
Yeah.
grow in general, like add more muscle on, like it's a part of the process. Like think I'm sitting around 11 or 12% body fat at the moment. And, I'm like nowhere near as shredded as what I was at stage weight. And it's just a part of it, I'm fine with that. So after another mini cut, it's like, okay, go back down a little bit, see what the form looks like and go back up. So it's just part of the process.
Yeah, I'm odd in that sense, where I didn't start feeling strong until like 96, 97 kilos, which by that time the abs were gone. I'm not spilling over, I'm still relatively tight, but there's definitely no midsection definition there. So it's just interesting. Some people can operate like, relatively lean body fat all year round, feel great, feel strong. Other people just need that little bit more just to perform and then just chisel it back. But at the end of the day, if you are looking to cut down, just, keep that in mind. Obviously do things smart, working with your coach, I'm sure, and make sure you have a plan for before and after. When this episode comes out, it will be out and ready, and the tickets will have dropped. Head to the 1RM Instagram and grab yourself your ticket for either the Bathurst photo shoot or the Penrith one. Vice versa, people from Bathurst can go to Penrith, people from Penrith go to Bathurst. We want as many people there as possible to jump in and be part of the 1RM community, get some cool photos and get some shots.
Mad. Love it.
Awesome. Thanks for jumping on, my man, and
Easy.
next time.